What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 6-game MLB main slate, courtesy of Osmo.com. It's another short-ish slate, so prepare to get weird today with how we approach our lineup builds today in the Four Corners, but I'm still going to give you guys a chance to win a free month of Osmo Plus. So right now, if you want to win that free month, like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. Nobody got Roberto Perez yesterday, the random dude who went off, so pick anybody, get weird with it. But right now, like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. But as always, let's kick it off with the top pitchers on today's slate, and Clayton Kershaw going against San Diego should be the top owned option industry-wide. Kershaw gets 3.2 implied runs against him, which are slate low, and is expected to be the number one owned pitcher on DraftKings with 38%, on FanDuel with 23%, and on Yahoo with 46%. Kershaw's 1 whip, 3.4 xFIP, and 25.3% K rate are worthwhile going against San Diego's 25.4% K rate versus left-hand pitchers. But with both Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis over a 170 WRC+, there is some risk for Kershaw. The power in San Diego's lineup can always be a risk, and with Kershaw not as great of a strikeout pitcher as you're usually getting at this price point, I'm inclined to come under the field on him, and I might have some Padres exposure as well. Garrett Cole at Cleveland should also be popular, 3.6 implied runs against him. Cole is tied for number one ownership on FanDuel with 23%, while he'll be number 3 owned on DraftKings with 31%, and he'll be number 4 on Yahoo at 21%. Cleveland's projected lineup has just a 19.3% K rate versus right-hand pitching, but Cole's strikeout ability with a 37.3% K rate and 15.8% swing strike rate plus a solid 2.7 xFIP makes him appealing as a pivot to Kershaw. Cole's got better strikeout stuff, but in a worse strikeout matchup, so I could see the reasons why people may want to go to Kershaw. I'd personally prefer to find the money to go to Cole because I think his ability is there, and his floor has been as solid as anybody's all year long. And Max Fried versus Cincinnati will also get owned today with 4.2 implied runs against him. Fried will be the number 2 owned on DraftKings with 34%, and he'll be number 3 on Yahoo at 24%. Fried is very well priced, but his 1.4 whip and low 23% K rate are risky versus a Cincinnati team who has a 275 batting average, a 112 WRC+, and a 19.6% K rate versus left-hand pitchers. As I mentioned, the price for Fried is really appealing here, but Cincinnati is a quality hitting team in a good hitting park. I think it's a tough spot to trust Fried at high volume. Now onto our next corner, the top stacks on the slate, and a Toronto stack going against Asher Wojciechowski should be popular today. Toronto gets 5.2 implied runs, and the MLB's version of Woj has been lights out versus right-handed batters with a 1.4 xFIP and 41% K rate, but brutal versus left-handed batters with a 7.2 xFIP and a 360 ISO allowed. The high Vegas total and Woj's likelihood for regression at a top hitting park offers some opportunity, but if Toronto stack ownership remains the highest on the slate, Woj could end up as leverage. I don't mind Toronto here because Bo Bichette has been raking, and Toronto is a team who can get it done even though they're woefully inconsistent. I don't mind having some Toronto stacks here, but the ownership seems really high, and I'll talk more about why that affects Woj in a little bit. An Atlanta stack versus Anthony DeSclafani should also be popular today with 5.3 implied runs for them. Left-handed batters are hard to ignore versus DeSclafani given the 277 ISO and 6 xFIP that he allows to that side of the plate and a sample size going back to last year. Atlanta's high ownership isn't ideal, and DeSclafani can be passable versus right-handed batters with a 1 whip and a 24.8% K rate, so it's ownership high. Many stacks may be more logical than full ones. It's a quality hitting spot here for Atlanta, especially the left-handed batters, but I do think the stack ownership for the full stack does seem pretty high right now with how DeSclafani can limit production overall. And a Tampa Bay stack versus Andrew Kastner also looks like it should be popular with 4.9 implied runs for them. Tampa Bay projects for comparably high ownership as the other teams, as Kastner is still mediocre with the 4.9 xFIP and a 17% K rate. Kastner's 1.3 whip this season has shown an ability to mitigate damage, though his 185 ISO allowed overall seems to indicate that things should be worse than they have been for him so far. Tampa Bay did a nice job yesterday versus Rick Porcello, but I do think the spot here versus Kastner is always one that's not quite as good as it seems. I don't mind going to the stacks here, but I won't be surprised if they disappoint. Now onto our next corner, the lower owned options on today's slate, and the Boston stack versus Brendan McKay is one of those teams. Boston gets 5.6 implied runs, which are slate high, and McKay has limited things decently with a 1 whip and a limited MLB sample size, but he's allowed a 177 ISO to right-handed batters that could be trouble versus a quality hitting Boston team. Mookie Betts and JD Martinez have a 160 and 190 WRC+ respectively versus left-handed pitchers, so with ownership not that high on Boston, it could be a spot to load up and hope that McKay gets blown up. I do think McKay is a decent pitcher, so I'm not necessarily going to go crazy on Boston, but I do think they have at least enough guys here to do damage to McKay, and I think many stacks of Boston could be very profitable by the night's end. Jack Flaherty versus the Cubs also interests me a bit with 4.1 implied runs against him. Flaherty will have ownership due to the slate size, but his 27.6% K rate at a pitcher's park are pluses in his favor. Every hitter in the Cubs projected lineup besides John Lester is over a 107 WRC+, so the risk is real, but Flaherty's 1.2 whip will hopefully find value with the Cubs' 23.6% K rate versus right-hand pitchers. Flaherty's no sure thing with all that competent hitting in the Cubs lineup, but he's one guy I'm willing to go to today on a slate in which there really isn't much quality pitching to dig deep for. And a Houston stack versus Danny Salazar looks interesting with 4.9 implied runs for them. Salazar had elite strikeout ability when he was last in the majors in 2017 with a 33% K rate, but if he attacks the plate versus Houston, he could get smoked in this matchup. Houston's projected lineup has a 204 ISO and a 126 WRC+ versus right-hand pitching. So even if Salazar finds some strikeouts, it could be really dangerous for him overall. Salazar is kind of stretched out with a very nice 69 pitches in his last minor league start. So if Houston ownership does trickle up, I could see having some Salazar, but overall, a guy returning to the majors going against the dangerous Houston lineup seems like a bad spot for Danny Salazar. And the aforementioned Asher Wojciechowski versus Toronto interests me somewhat with 5.2 implied runs against him. Woj does seem due to regress, but he has a 16.3% swing strike rate versus a Toronto lineup that has 5 guys above league average in K rate versus right-handed pitching. With high ownership expected for Toronto, Woj seems worth a shot, banking on his 31.1% overall K rate and praying that the 54.2% fly ball rate at Baltimore doesn't kill him. Park factors and regression are not in favor of Wojciechowski, but I do think it's a decent spot to go to him at a reasonable price, given the fact that he has shown crazy strikeout ability versus very good teams. Now onto our last corner of the one-offs, and I'm getting weird with it right away with Chris Davis versus Trent Thornton. Davis unequivocally stinks, but at a near minimum price with Thornton allowing a 1.4 whip and a 240 ISO to left-handed batters at Baltimore's positive hitting park, this is one spot for him to not be terrible for just one night. Usually playing Chris Davis will make you feel like his face looks in that picture on the screen, but I do think it's a decent spot here given that Thornton has some really bad lefty splits, and Davis at least theoretically still has some power somewhere inside of him. JD Martinez versus Brendan McKay also interests me. Martinez is up to a 190 WRC plus and 350 ISO versus left-hand pitching going back to last season, while McKay is allowed a 177 ISO to right-handed batters. Martinez has crushed the ball recently, and McKay is a guy who can give up production to right-handed bats. I think it's a nice spot to go to Martinez with a good team total on Boston's side as well. And even though I'm intrigued by Woj, I'm willing to go to Cavan Biggio versus Asher Wojciechowski as a one-off today. Woj will give up a dong to somebody here, and with his bad 7.2 xFIP and 360 ISO to left-handed batters, Biggio's in the number 2 hole with a 246 ISO and 51.3% hard contact, and that seems like the best bet to take advantage of Woj's weaknesses. Even though I think Woj has some upside today, somebody's going to take advantage of him in that Toronto lineup, and Biggio is as good of a bet as anybody to do it. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on today's scintillating 6-game slate. So right now, like this video, and if you want to get that free month of Awesemo Plus, make sure to like the video and comment your double dong pick down below. Yesterday was Roberto Perez, the Indians catcher, who had some logical reasons going for him why he could do it, but nobody picked him, so get a little weird with it, but pick guys who have power. But whatever you do, like the video right now and comment your double dong pick down below. But if you don't want to wait for a guy like Roberto Perez to pick you up and drag you out of the hellscape that is your daily life, that was a little dark, you could also use that promo code SWITCH and Hedge for half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Get all the ownership projections, the player projections that you can just plug right in the Fantasy Cruncher, the deep dive column, the lineup builder, the top stacks tool, a million different things that'll help you make better MLB DFS lineups. So please use that promo code SWITCH and Hedge right now for half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'm here for you guys every day. We're pals. We're always chatting it up in the comments. Let's take our relationship to the next level. Right now, go follow me on the other social media platforms at Chris Spags. I'll be back on Live Before Lock later today with the baseball savant Jake Hari, so subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when we go live. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with another Four Corners video for a much larger MLB slate. So I'll see you guys then, and of course, good luck.